The FundGuard Discovery web series is a monthly web chat for asset managers and their service providers. We discuss digital transformation, cloud technology, data management, and the future state of investment accounting.
Hi, I'm Akha Mathews, and I'm here with Peter Muldoon today, and we're going to talk to you about how the data in FundGuard is different than a lot of the industry incumbents.
Yeah, that's right, Akha. I think the idea here for the webinar is to try to take on a technology topic, but not really from a technology perspective. To look at the impact of a change in technology and how that impacts or how that benefits the user.
Yeah, most of my experience is really working with relational databases, and when I started working with FundGuard, I started noticing how much data FundGuard was storing, and it's also servicing up to the user with just one click. So let me just quickly show you what I'm talking about. And if you're interested in a full demonstration, please feel free to just request one on our website. So we're currently looking at some positions within FundGuard. And in the middle here, we can see some basic positional attributes that we're maintaining. So if I scroll over, you can see there simple things like your quantity, your cost, your current value, your unrealized. But where I really see clients and prospects when I'm demoing this have that aha moment and really, ask themselves or ask us, how are you storing all that information is when I'm demoing this panel here on the right-hand side. So you can see here, as I scroll down, you can see there's so many additional attributes that are associated with this position record that we are making available, again, with just one click. So as I start to scroll down, you can see a ton of mark-to-market attributes, interest income details, the same thing with the amortization details. And I'm just calling out a few additional fields here. And in addition to all these supplemental fields, if I click on the related, we can also see data related to that positions record. So, for example, we can see related corporate actions. We can drill into the price history, the security master. We can see the trade that created the positions. We can see the tax lot breakout of that specific position as well.
Yeah, Akha, the interesting thing there to note, and that is where people kind of take notice in the demos, to present this information. We're really just for all intents and purposes, the first right panel you were on, we're just reading a record. We're not doing the traditional relational database would do all kinds of table joins in order to present you that information. You're able to present the information much differently here because of the technology. And to just take a step back there, we're using what's called a big data database or a NoSQL database. And the major difference between it and a relational database is that the table size and the record size are really not limited. You can have really long records, and the size of the table is really there's no constraint on that. So when you have that, that's the beginning of whatever you're designing. It makes you think differently, and instead of having a bunch of little tables, you can have very large tables with not just the information of say balances, critical balances to critical accounting values. You can put all kinds of other information on that record, and when you write the record, you're grabbing not only the balance, but the configuration fields that might be on like a security master or something like that. You're able to grab those configuration fields as well and put them on the record. So it's just a much faster response from the user's perspective than, say, a relational database. Does that make sense?
It does. And another feature that kind of adds on to what you're saying, Peter, is around the versioning that we maintain. So I'll quickly show it. If I just drill into the record behind this so I can see the full details, and I can drill into every version of this record that has ever existed. So based on different events that's occurring on a daily basis, like your interest accruals, your amortization, price updates, we're maintaining a different record within that database every time one of those activities happens. So for example, here we can see the number of versions for the position record that we just drilled into. We can see the event type that impacted or created the new version of that record. And as I scroll over, you can also see the different delta values. So for example, we can see that the daily amortization was moved by a certain amount, or the price update was moved by a certain amount.
Yeah, that's right. And that's one that I think is harder to get your head around because it's so drastically different than a relational database. But you're able to have, in the case of positions here, in a relational database, you usually, if your portfolio had, say, 500 holdings in it, you would have 500 positions. And every time you get a trade or some kind of event that changes those critical balances, like your quantity or your cost or your market value, you edit those numbers, and you keep track of the record itself somewhere else. In this case, we're not doing that. We're able to just maintain the position table, but just have new versions of each of those. In that example, each of those 500 records are constantly getting new versions of themselves based on any event or any activity that happens in the portfolio. And as you can see here, each version is different because of the process or the event or the activity that generated it.
And I know when I first started, Peter, when I was asking questions about how this worked, it really helped me to have a visual to kind of see how they worked side by side.
And just before we go to that, in that right panel that you had with the related fields there, it's really using the table that you're looking at here in order to, say, find prices or find FX rates. It's really not doing a search, a query to other tables that just store that information. It's just reading up the versions. So you're usually presenting the latest version of the record, and then you simply look at the deltas between the previous versions to find the ones that were related to price change or FX rate change. And that's why I can quickly find them.
No, that makes sense. And I know when I first started, it really kind of helped me to see that visual, Peter, where you kind of helped me to understand what a relational structure looked like versus what a big database structure looked like.
Yeah, this is a good visual. I think, if you're familiar with, some of the traditional ways of building, investment accounting systems, they're all on relational databases. And they really just have the whole idea of them is to have, a series of tables, lots of tables that just have very like information. And when you're adding records to those tables, in the case of positions, you're updating, you're editing an existing record with a new quantity, a new cost. Like I said, you also have another table that stores the trade, and you do all this. You keep, it's a very efficient way to store data, and when they were very popular, that was very important. And whenever the idea is that whenever you request information from a user perspective, it does lots of table joins and queries, and in this case, it would run through the positions, find the positions that you're looking for, assuming you've entered a fund or a date. And then it would need to, before it brings that back, it would really need to go to the security master and grab a lot of descriptive information. And even from there, it might drop to more static tables like you see there with more descriptive information in order to present you a screen or a report that's rich from a user perspective. And, there's like no free lunch here. We're in a big data database. You're really building one table, and you're starting by saying, what does the user want to see, so that we don't need to do queries or table joins, etc. What is the world of what a user wants to see, and then even pivot, a couple of degrees from that. What is it that they might want to see, and you build a table according to those requirements. And so when you're adding records on the big data side, you're adding, not just the balances that you see on the positions, but you're adding security master description data. You're adding configuration data, like you see there with the frequency and the day count, et cetera. All that data is sitting on the record. Maybe very, very inefficient from a data perspective, but really powerful from a user perspective and even a processing perspective. Because when you're calculating, say, interest for a new day or something like that, you have all of the configuration settings that you need to do that calculation sitting right on the record. So again, it's much faster.
Yeah, I know one of the things that used to drive me crazy is having to jump from screen to screen to screen because I felt like data was often kind of all over the place. So when I look at this and I see FundGuard, it kind of really helps me to kind of understand what you just said, Peter, about how big data databases are designed with the UI in mind instead of kind of that backwards approach of designing the UI based on how the database structure looks.
Yeah, it's really great. And then when you add what you said before about, just the immutable part of it, the versioning that you get, it's just another dimension to this database is not only so wide with all the information that you need, but it's also deep. You can change the date of the fund you're looking for, there's really no more calculations to it. And another thing that we could also say about it is that, in an accounting world, controls are really important. And a lot of data quality controls often rely on end values. And the whole nature of the big data database is to take every event and bring it right to the end game, right to the NAV or the total net assets or whatever you're going to do. And usually those kind of figures, total net assets and NAV, are often denominators in calculations where you're trying to highlight, create alerts, for example, on controls, data quality types of controls. So it has a lot of upside as from a controls accounting perspective as well.
Great. Well, thank you, Peter, for the insights today. Happy to do follow-ups. And like I mentioned, if you would like a more kind of detailed demo or conversation, please feel free to reach out on our website. And looking forward to the next discovery session.
Me too, Akha. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for listening to the FundGuard Discovery web series. We hope you found value in this month's chat and hope you'll join us again next month. To learn more, visit fundguard.com.